Hey, hello, my dear friend.
How you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. It's so good to see you.
It's always good
Always.
to see you. Always. It's like this mutual love affair
I
for
know.
years. So for the moment we met physically in this incarnation to present moment, it's always the same. I love Sue.
So from the first moment, it's just been absolutely, absolutely beautiful to know you again in this lifetime and to share all the ways that we have with so much of humanity. It's been a great blessing in my life.
And mine as well. I was thinking about you the other day because I had to move my massage table, and you were the one who gifted me that massage table. So, do you remember that?
I do. I remember I was wanting to work with, I wanted to offer some of the work that my father had created, bioenergetic synchronization best technique, with you. And when we first met in the Transformational Leadership Council, I had given you a couple of those sessions, and we wanted to do that when I was visiting in LA. And so we were looking around for a place, and I was like, we don't need to look for a place. This man needs to have a treatment table at his beck and call whenever, wherever. So I called him up and shipped one to you so that you could be taken care of. You should be taken care of, my friend.
Right. I was moving it, and I was flooded with that memory. I said, "Oh my God, Dr. Sue gave me this massage table. It was so beautiful. You gave me a treatment there, and it was so wonderful." So tell us, a little bit about. I mean, your dad was a master. He was ahead of his time, so to speak, and you have taken bioenergetic medicine, the foundation of what he did, to another level. So tell us a little bit about his pioneer work and then what you have done with it.
Oh, well, my father started creating a healing technique in the 70s. He wanted to know who gets well, why do they get well, who gets sick, why don't they get well, and it led him into the work of electromagnetic energy and what influenced it. And he recognized that our thoughts and our beliefs and our intentions have a tremendous impact on the nervous system's ability to remain in a creative mode of function versus having to lock down in a high performance protective survival mode of function. And he recognized that the number one reason that people locked down into that survivor contracted state was that the nervous system was locked into fight or flight in response to unresolved emotion, things that happen in our lives that impact us, etc. And so he found ways of working. His whole life was dedicated to this, starting in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and all the way up until he passed just about 5 years ago. And so it was this recognition that we have the power to transform our healing capacity if we get a handle on our emotional states. And when we do so, things change. And so he developed ways to facilitate supporting someone to interrupt the blockages that have gotten established from past experience, whether that experience was inherited or whether it was in our own life experience in this lifetime, that these things were able to be rewired and to become highly functioning, setting the nervous system free into this creative genius rather than having to spend all its energy on survivorship. And so then I had this awakening in 2000, and my life became about, wow, an entire additional reality on top of this one and how to function highly here, but the fact that we are multidimensional beings. And so I devoted my life to reproducing that and figuring out and codifying how do we tap that. And then I took my father's work and just infused my findings into that. And I'm just working with people about how to embody, how to integrate as a spiritual being. And lastly, I'll just say, Michael, that people are seeking their spirituality. And what I really want people to understand is that they are their spirituality. And the journey isn't about awakening to that. The journey is about embodying that, about recognizing that that's who we are and that we're here to come into this body and live fully as the pure spirit being that we are. So the work that I'm doing is just integrating and facilitating that process.
Absolutely. You do a very great job. I found such camaraderie with you. I used to say, years ago, and I still say it to a degree now, that we're not here to be ascended masters, we're here to be descended masters.
Right.
To absolutely descend into the body and bring the eternal with us, to bring all of the eternal verities to be active within us. So we were in the same accord, and you have this powerful technology that allows the unlocking of the emotional trauma and allows for the energy to flow through the body temple again. So I always felt just such a powerful camaraderie with you, you know, because
Yes.
you know, for me, I had struggled when I had my awakening. I struggled for a while because I was so way out there in the other zones that I wasn't here, and it took me a few years to integrate that state back into my body and back into my daily life. So it was a whole process of integration. So when I heard you speak about it, I said, she knows exactly what it is. You know,
Right.
You know, I can listen to somebody speak just for a few moments, and I can tell whether they know about it or whether they know it.
Yes.
When I heard you speak, she knows it. That's my buddy.
That's it. The moment that we had our first conversation, I was like, this being gets where I've been and why I'm here, what it is that I'm doing. And I think that's just where we meet. And it's so beautiful when we find like minds and you know, common soul ground that we can facilitate each other to build and to embody the various aspects of that, which is what's so beautiful about the communities that you've put together over the years, is that people are able to come together and bond and let, you know, just kind of give ballast to one another as we go through this journey of rediscovering all of our capacity and who and what we truly are. So I know that my community that has gathered around this teaching absolutely loves your community and what it's teaching, and they're just kind of bonded in so many beautiful ways that it's just such an honor and a blessing to witness.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, it's like this one community in different locations. You know,
Right.
we're like these concentric circles all around the world that are holding a frequency and a vibration, and we all know each other. And obviously, you're one of the people that I'd love to bring into Agape to speak and challenge my folks to absolutely take part in your teachings, your seminars, your classes, because it's only going to help them integrate what they're hearing on a regular basis at Agape. And when they're going through classes at Agape, it only helps, you know. So I'm always, whenever we have the opportunity, invite Sue in.
I love to come.
I trust the people with Sue. I'm taking a vacation.
I'll never forget the first time that you invited me to speak at Revelation, and I started speaking and started collecting the information that I wanted to bring. And so I have to talk a little bit about this and a little bit about this, a little bit about this. And then as I was starting to tie it together, the crowd was so on track and in alignment with what I was saying. They were just so uplifting to it. I felt these shackles come off of me that I oftentimes would experience in speaking to scientific communities and in healthcare, et cetera, that all of a sudden I could say everything that I knew to be true. And it just, wow, you know, it was like, everyone was in this like ecstatic roar together.
The Agape Nation is ready. Yeah, the Agape Nation is ready.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about, you know, there's so much going on in the world right now, and we have this COVID-19 situation happening. People they're back in the fight and flight again, which you talked about earlier. You know, the virus of fear has snagged the minds of so many people around the world, and that's debilitating in and of itself. Even if they don't get COVID, just the fear itself is debilitating their immune system and stopping their body from functioning properly. You know, what would you offer into that conversation with bioenergetics, with strengthening the immune system, with fear? What would you offer to that?
Yeah. So the number one way that we're going to compromise ourselves is if we are spending more time a day in the vibrational frequency of fear than we are in the vibrational frequency of curiosity and what am I becoming and how am I evolving and how is this serving me. That when we spend more time in that frequency, it allows our cells to respond as if we are actually a creator, which we are, and actually on an adventure, which we are. And as we're in that state, the vibrational tone sets a cellular function, and the cells start producing chemicals to support the fact that we're on an adventure versus the fact that we're running from a bear. And the chemistries create our reality. And those chemistries generate even neurosynapses, which travel up the vagus nerve and land in our hearts and land in our heads as messages, impressions, and intuitions and knowings. And so it's our job to allow those chemistries to more regularly be chemistries of evolution and chemistries of creativity and chemistries of adventure and curiosity, rather than chemistries of shutdown and so forth. So the number one way that we compromise our immune system is to exhaust it. And the way that we exhaust our immune system is by exhausting our adrenals. And when we exhaust our adrenals by constantly worrying and constantly fretting, and every time we put the mask on, having it be, oh my gosh, I have to protect myself, I have to be away, rather than we could turn this ritual of putting a mask on into a spiritual practice. It could be, oh, I'm going to breathe my own breath right here, which happens to be an Eastern culture tradition that you learn to do. You learn to breathe your own breath and be present with the self in such a beautiful way that your senses become gathered and quickened internally. It's a process that they called pratyahara, which is a withdrawal of your senses into your inner being. And so when we put the mask on, we're actually doing something that for thousands of years in the ashrams they would do by sitting and learning to cycle the breath in here and to be present with the self instead of being scattered and dispersed into the future or into the story or into the dramas and traumas that are happening in our outer world. And so ironically, the world is being asked to do this thing that the ancient cultures would have considered, hallelujah, we finally got it. And now we're going to sit and be with the self in a way that we never have been before. So put your mask on and realize sacred practice, opportunity for me to be present with the self. It's not about protecting myself. It's about being the wholeness of who I am. And what we are made of is the cosmos. We're made of the universe. There is nothing that we're not. So we are vibrating at a much higher vibrational frequency than any virus or bacteria or fungus or anything else that mankind can come up with. We are actually in our highest self, a higher vibration that would consume any of it if we don't get in the way. But we get in the way because we buy into this story that there's something bigger than us that can take us out any moment. And so it can, because we're setting it up for that kind of success and setting ourselves up for that kind of disempowerment. So we have to remember that every virus is an opportunist. It can't create the environment that it needs to survive in. It has to find an environment that it can thrive in. And the way that we produce the environment that a virus can thrive in is to be disempowered, to be a low vibrational frequency, to be worrying and fearing and not taking care of ourselves and not exhibiting self-love on the inside. Not feeling the vibration of love often enough drops our vibrational frequency. So not to say that everyone who's gotten sick is not incorporating self-love and they're vibrating too low, but I will say they likely were dispersing themselves too much, scattering, over-trying, over-giving, overdoing, over-performing, or exhausting themselves by years and years and years and years of living from the outside in and worrying and creating an acidic environment in which a virus can thrive. And so we have to alkalize our systems and love into ourselves and in a way and pull our energies back home so that they can coalesce inside and magnify in a quantum way and allow this internal environment to be something that edges any virus out, because it's just not a vibrational match, a home that a virus cannot survive in. So there are many, many ways that we can do that. And it's so important that humanity remember who we are in the pecking order, what's really going on here in a highest perspective, that we are bigger and greater than that which we think we are having to protect ourselves from. And that is the human dilemma. It's time for us to flip that over.
Absolutely. For those of you just tuning in, this is Dr. Sue Morter, Master of Bioenergetic Medicine. And she just laid down for you a powerful, powerful paradigm that you want to live in. You've heard me say some of these things before. At the beginning of the COVID, I indicated to people that this was the time to go in and ask what you want to become. Dr. Sue, you just told everybody to make that an adventure. What am I becoming? You know, what gift is trying to be born here? And if people could stay more in that frequency, and the other thing I think is very powerful is the virus can't create the condition. It's looking for a condition.
Yeah.
And we can become the right condition for it, or we can elevate our frequency so that it can't live in us. I'm talking about the destructive viruses, not the viruses that we need in our body temple to function, because we have a lot of viruses in us that are very beneficial. And I just want you guys to hear this brilliant mind speak. And she just gave you the doorway to staying out of fear, out of worry, out of doubt, to make this a mystical practice of turning within, not allowing your body temple to be the condition for the virus, and then being on a grand adventure of unfolding. This is what it's all about. And, you know, we could probably stop the interview right there, because, or at least the conversation about that right there, because you just laid down the template, and if people would just follow that, I mean, you add exercise, you add good nutrition, you add good hydration, you add meditation, you add yoga, and a person can basically live a great adventure of staying out of worry and staying in faith, staying in conviction, staying in power, staying in love. You know, when a person, you know, when you fall in love with life, you're not in worry, because you can't. Worry and love are two different vibrations. Worry and fear, love and fear are two different vibrations. So if you fall in love with life, and you fall in love with yourself, the virus, your body changes. The temple, as you say, the chemicals that are produced change, and it cannot contain that kind of viral influence anymore. This is powerful, Sue.
You know, and it's so amazing. It's so amazing, Michael, because we've learned as a culture to say things like, of course I worry about you. I love you. And
right.
And it's tangled up wrong. It's
right.
It's like, if you love me, don't worry about me. If you love me, love me. But if you're going to be worrying and sending me that vibration, I don't need it. Thank you. Please just love me. You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. And so we can care, but we have to untangle this idea that to love someone, you have to worry about their well-being. You can care deeply, and the vibration that you're emanating to them is a very different frequency, and it's a very different frequency that you're creating for yourself, because you're not interested. We have to be devoted to not worrying. We have to be devoted to adventure and curiosity and reverie and sacred harmony. We have to be devoted to a precious, rare temple that is here, that we don't want anything to crash it, because we want it to flourish. And so we have to vibrate flourishing frequencies all the time. We have now, and here's one other thing that I want to add to this, is that to vibrate a flourishing frequency means to radically accept and embrace every single part of you. When we have a tendency to, if I worry, now beat myself up for worrying, now I have worry as a vibration I need to transmute, and beating myself up as a judgment as a vibration.
You have guilt.
And guilt for doing it, and then shame, and I do it all the time. And so all of that is no longer our disposition. We have to radically embrace every single frequency that passes through this system, every single one. The ones that are fear, the ones that we would call guilt or shame, the ones that we would call judgment and, you know, abandonment and throwing ourselves under the bus. We have to even embrace the fact that we tend to do that, because if we can embrace that, we break the spell, we break the pattern, we break the cycle. Right. If no matter what passes through this system, if I can love it, then I'm becoming an emanation of loving presence no matter what. So if I can love into the fear, love into the anxiety, here's what I know happens is it disassembles it as a separate entity unto itself, and it causes it to meld and to melt into the process that I am overall. And when I meld these energies together, I become more powerful. It's as if I throw it onto the bonfire of my heart, and it burns up to ashes to be used for something more valuable. And I just want to say, in addition to that, that there's so much anxiety rising with people right now, because the energy, the thickness of the space in between us is starting to percolate, because everyone is having to become aware and awake. No one can predict or go on autopilot, because no one knows what to anticipate. So people are actually being forced to be more present. But we're having to say we don't know. We just have to stay and just wait and just ride it out and organically be present. And I'm thinking, hallelujah, because that's what I've been trying to get people to do for the last 20 years, the last 40 years. So now people are having to do that. And it's a beautiful thing. When this energy inside of us starts to percolate, the energy that we would call anxiety, I just want everyone to know that energy is power. It's actually passion that doesn't know where to go. So it just stays in here and we keep pushing it down because we think it's a bad energy. And there's no such thing as a bad energy. There's none of it. Every energy is here to be embraced and to be metabolized and to be utilized. So this energy that we call anxiousness, anxiety, is our passion and our power that doesn't know how to route itself. And so if we love it, then we move the energy of this power up to the heart space. When it comes up to the heart space, now it can flourish and now it can be set free and it can be used to pierce the primitive brain and get into these higher brain centers where we can start operating as the creative geniuses that we are. But as long as we keep suppressing this anxiety, this fear, and shoving it down there and trying to override it, we miss it. We dupe ourselves. So grab a hold of it. When you're feeling this anxiousness, grab a hold of it. Go inside of it and hug it on the inside and start breathing with it. And start breathing with it like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not turning my back on you. I'm going to love you into something new. I'm going to birth you into the power of love instead of just suppressing you and keeping you as this feeling of anxiousness. And we have to trust and open our hearts to that energy. And when we do, in the body, they start to alchemize and they start to transmute and transpire into something new. And it builds enough power to pierce up through that primitive brain that gets us locked down right here in fight or flight. And when we pierce the primitive brain and arrive up here in truly what was considered the promised land, we are escaping the confines of our mind and the tradition of it suppressing things and setting ourselves free. Not in spite of COVID, but because of COVID, because of our circumstances, we are rising up. If we just allow the embrace of that to be happening.
I could just ask you a question and let you just roll.
I'm sorry, I just get going. It's like, oh my God.
No. That's why I have you here. I have you here for this specific reason. What you just described, I call redemption. That is because energy is never created or destroyed, so we redeem it. So the energy of anxiousness, fear, doubt, worry, guilt, shame that we try to hold down, when we fall in love with those places of ourselves, it's redeemed. It's transmuted to a higher frequency. And as you're saying, it has a place to go now. It's not just an anxiousness about an uncertain future. It's actually being transmuted into a deep sense of self-love, conviction, passion, love. It's being redeemed. Yes. And I love this piece about staying present. You're absolutely correct. It's like we can't go on autopilot. It's like you don't know what's going to happen next. So it's an adventure and it's a crisis all at the same time. So many people change through crisis. They take that opportunity and something happens because their back is against the wall and they change. So this is an adventure in crisis where we stay present, stay alert, stay available. However, as you said at the top, we have to couple that with what am I becoming? What wants to emerge? So that it has a place to go. It's not, as you said earlier, I just want to be protected, because that's where a lot of people are living, and a lot of it isn't their fault. Their mind has been hijacked by the media that is basically into fear and worry and that type of thing. So a lot of it isn't their fault. Their mind has just been taken over by nefarious hypnotism. And what we're seeking to do is to take it back, take your being back. And actually place your attention and become interested in something that's more beneficial for you.
Beautiful. And what I'm really encouraging people to do is to help that become easier for them to take it back, is to use your body to help with that, because your body will anchor and ground your consciousness, and it will allow you to land and center yourself in a grounded and integrative way, to the point that when you claim your power back, it can stay, and it doesn't just seep back out and disperse back out into the media, back out into the news or the common conversation that's out there, that you land it here and anchor yourself in the body and breathe up and down the central channel. I have stuff out on YouTube that, it's free content that teach people how to do that, because we need to learn how to use the body and not just live in our heads and in our spaciousness of our spirit, but to land that spirit in the body and anchor it here so that we can have a landing pad, a reference point, a place of absolute certainty, and that we collect and gather more energy by bringing this energy into this stream that we are. And when we do that, it allows the body to act as a filtering process that translates this cosmic intelligence that we are into groundedness and into relational capacity and into personal power and into our ability to be a divine loving presence without compromising anything at the same time, and to manifest ourselves here as the robust immunity that we are. We don't have to protect ourselves. We are the ability to transmute anything that comes across our path if we're landed and anchored and centered and grounded. So
we one, become impervious because we're operating at a different frequency. And then two, we're becoming stronger energetically to hold more of the cosmic energy in the body. It's not being flitted away. That we're not being so porous and have a lot of holes in our astral body and our subtle bodies where the energy passes through. We're able to hold the energy and actually be strong, vital beings. And we want people to hold that image of them. Not just be wispy, but to be strong.
Right. Open and strong. Yeah.
I'm going to have to, I want to cover some other material, but I needed this because I needed people to actually hear this message, because oftentimes, you know how it is when people hear you over and over and over again, they need to hear it differently from someone else.
Yes,
and
indeed.
So, yeah.
You come in every door and window with it. We have to sneak in the back door and come down the chimney and saturate ourselves with this truth.
Right. So you brought it forward, and we're almost at like the half-hour mark, but there's so much other material I want to cover. So what I want to do, I'm asking you another question, but what I want to do is I'm going to go into another level of interview with you, because I want the people to understand your that awakening that you had and the significance of it and what happened to you.
Sure.
But I'm gonna ask that later, and I'm gonna put it on the app. But hey, we're in some historic times right now. Kamala Harris has accepted the nomination for Vice President of the United States. This is really something. I mean, how do you feel about that? I'm just setting you up to say whatever you need to say. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't be more elated. I think that it is the smartest thing that Biden could have possibly done. I think it's going to broaden the perspective of and the perceptive field of people who might be interested in listening and leaning in this direction. I think that bringing a woman of color into the mix is absolutely brilliant on every level. Brilliant as a political move on his part, but brilliant for such more important reasons. Because the feminine energy needs to be voiced. It needs to have a presence, and she is clear, and she is strong, and she is present in so many ways. And as she can gather these energies and allow them to be presented and revealed, even if she's not speaking, she has the opportunity to emanate and radiate this on a global scale, on a global spectrum. So oftentimes the vice president doesn't get the same voice that the president gets, but it doesn't matter. When feminine energy is being stood for, and everyone has feminine energy, men and women alike, what we want to do is recognize that the entire universe is feminine energy. It is creative and nurturing and ever evolving, and that's what we're made of. And so when we have that in the office, when we can stand and breathe with that, and knowing what we know to support that, it allows for a portal of communication to come out into the world from our hearts and as a collective. That we have an open-hearted, open-minded spokesperson that can be there, even if she doesn't get a moment to speak, but we see her standing there. What's going to happen is a reverberation and a reflection of the rest of the spectrum that has certainly been edged out and not been supported as of late. and not been supported over the eons of time for the most part. So I'm thrilled to see this happening, and I'm very hopeful that it's going to give us an opportunity to come forward in a way that is going to bring some sanity and some heartfelt, deep wisdom, truth back into the conversation.
Absolutely. You said it so powerfully. I mean, first of all, the fact that she's a woman, and she carries that energy. When she spoke, you can feel the compassion. You can feel that the family vibration. You can feel a whole nother frequency that's been missing from white men running everything.
Yes.
And as you said, and she's a person of color, and that particular spectrum has been left out of the conversation for so long. You know,
Too long.
A few years ago, you had Barack Obama, who did a fantastic job of representing intelligence and love and in so many ways. But to have a woman now in a high-ranking office, if they're elected, and carrying that divine feminine energy, it's going to do a lot for healing of the psyche of our country. You know,
Yes.
even beyond politics.
Yeah. Right.
Just the psyche of the country will start to be subliminally healed because of that frequency that's
Yes.
being broadcast.
Yes, there's a harmonizing. There's a harmonizing. When we're standing in that.
We thought about family when we thought about White House. You know, we don't, family doesn't exude from the White House at this moment. You know, even though number 45 is married, even though he has children, you don't feel that heart of family at all. You know what I mean? They seem to be disjointed and kind of separated. And it's not a judgment call, it's just observation. But you can feel that dynamic with her. And again, that's going to heal a lot in the psyche of the nation and reverberate through the world as well. So this is a very historic moment. And I'm saying this transcending politics, just the frequency of a woman.
Right.
And the frequency of feminine energy and the frequency of a woman of color is very powerful for the psyche at this time. So
yes,
I'm right there.
Yes, in any kind of leadership role.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
well, in any kind of leadership role.
Go ahead.
See, we're always finishing each other's sentences anyway, right? It's like just one of us talking here, right? Oh, I love you so much. So any kind of leadership role, when a woman can be in a leadership role in a structure that is the most powerful structure in the most powerful country in the world, when we can put the vibrational frequency of feminine energy just standing inside that structure and breathing, that alone will have a transmuting and harmonizing effect on the bandwidth for the human heart. And it is the human heart that will pull us up and out of every crisis that we will ever experience. It is not the mind. The mind is separative. The mind's job is to find the differences in things. The heart's job is to find the common ground and to magnetize things together again. And whenever we have the embodiment of more feminine energy and then more feminine energy and then more of it in some, in incremental degrees, we become harmonizing, we become accepting, we become compassionate, we become available, we care. And when we care, we make better decisions. And when we care and make better decisions, all of a sudden nations can find common ground. They can take a walk together instead of putting up their dukes and trying to comparatively impress one another or intimidate each other. We're here to learn how to love together, to live together. And that's the human dilemma. It's not just up for America, it's up for humanity. We are here to learn how to love in place of anything else. When there is love in the mind, the power of transformation is unstoppable. And when love is snuffed out of the mind, the power for destruction is amazing. And we've been witnessing that. And it is right on time that we get this stir and we choose. And it's just time for us to choose that there's something more powerful than power itself. Power with love is more encompassing.
Absolutely. And we're now in a moment in which the Black lives in our nation have been so disrespected and unloved as a part of humanity and the individuals who've actually built the country's wealth, that all of that is erupting now and will not go back to normal until that vibration of love and justice hold hands. And then we're able to build a foundation for a kind and just nation and a kind and just global society. So everything is up right now for change and transformation. Everything is up. Before you go, I wanted people to know where they can find you.
Oh, yes, sure. So first, I just want to say about what is up for humanity regarding Black Lives Matter is serving everyone. It isn't, you know, when that justice and that harmony is found, it isn't going to just serve and support Black lives in the world. It is going to support all lives when Black Lives Matter becomes a known equanimity, because the people who have been pushing that aside are in great pain. And that is why they've chosen power over love. It's because of their pain. They sought power to overcome their pain. And they'll hit a brick wall. They're hitting a brick wall because, you know, the truth will always rise. And the truth is rising right now. And it's bringing this harmony back into place in a new way. It's not going to bring it back to where it was, for goodness sakes. No, it's going to bring it to where it could have been, should have been, and where we are evolving to. So I just wanted to speak into that everyone will be served as we allow this equanimity to establish itself, and we listen and we hear and we feel into the ways that prejudice has been present even through ignorance. That ignorance is now no longer a good enough excuse. And many people were being prejudiced ignorantly. They didn't know. They were raised thinking certain thoughts and they were just doing that. And so by rising up and having a voice from a different perspective, people are waking up left and right that didn't ever intend to be hurtful. But even in those minute ways that they're recognizing that their ways were hurtful, even though they didn't mean it, it elevates the foundation upon which all of this conversation is taking place. And so those that were being manipulative and were not, they were using power in all the wrong ways, their opportunity for transformation is increased because the common ground is rising, and it makes it easier for change to occur. So I'm so grateful for everyone who's been involved in the conversation to the degree that they have. Now, so I just wanted to add that into our conversation.
No, that was exactly what we needed to hear. The common ground is rising. And one of the things that I teach is that we're not asking for our white brothers and sisters to be allies. We're all in this together. They're not allies because we're all human. We're all in the same struggle. So it's not like I'm an ally for Black people. That's like saying I'm not human. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're going beyond allyship to like we're in collaboration. We're in common ground to deconstruct a system that doesn't work based upon systemic racism and building a system that's based on love and justice together. We're all in this together, as you were articulating. We're all in this together. So when we take this part of the population and actually bring a level of reparation, a level of equality, then everyone rises.
Yes.
Everyone is held to a higher frequency and a higher vibration. And now we can actually build the kind and just global society. We can actually build the beloved community because we're all together, you see.
Yes.
Not this, we're unique individuals, but we're all collaborating together for this powerful vision that cannot come into manifestation if any part of the group is being disrespected or maligned or not getting the justice that they deserve. So
exactly.
So
beautiful.
We can go on forever, but I want you to I want people to know how to find you.
Oh, well, I have a website that is, explains it all. It's drsuemorter.com. It's drsuemorter.com. We also have all kinds of things happening all the time. We have a Facebook challenge about remote healing, about how to learn to heal from across the airwaves, across the frequencies and the quantum field, how to be self-healing and heal others. We have that coming up in August 24, 25, 26. I'm doing a healing transmission for thousands of people around the globe on Thursday, the 27th. And then the remote healing class that I'm teaching on Saturday and Sunday, the 29th and 30th of August. All of that's coming up. But I teach courses and do all kinds of things, body awake yoga, and I'm just here. So you can find me. I'm pretty easy to find on the website, and if you can't find me, just ask Michael. He'll know where I am wherever I am.
Absolutely. Dr. Sue, thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
being with us. I'm going to
thank
be
you.
with you shortly, so because I want to finish our conversation about your spiritual awakening that I think people will find not just fascinating but inspirational.
Oh, beautiful. I look forward to that. Thank you,
Thank you.
my dear soul friend.
Absolutely. God bless you.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.